In today's episode, the Volvo 164. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, where we look at car brochures from around the world here on YouTube for your enjoyment. Yeah, it's a bit of a nerdy subject, but if you're interested in nerdy things, then we do look at car brochures. Lots of interest for bringing back those memories more than anything else. I think as soon as you see these cars, you think, oh yes, I remember when. So if any of that might be interesting to you, then please do consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode. Yes, we're going to look at the lovely Volvo 164 when Volvo went a little bit up market. So let's throw that on the board and have a look at it now. So here is the brochure. What a lovely car. I always liked Volvos. I've never actually owned a Volvo, but I've always liked them and always kind of like wanted to, but I guess the opportunity never presented itself. In fact, I've always really liked Swedish cars in general. I've had a couple of Saabs in my lifetime. So the 164, certainly a venture for Volvo to go a bit more upmarket. 6-cylinder engine, and of course this is when these numbers kind of like made sense, 6 for 6-cylinder, 4 for a 4-door car. But yeah, a little bit more upmarket to Volvos around this time. It was unveiled by Volvo at the Paris Motor Show early in October 1968 and first sold as a 69 model. So it was in production from 68 to 75 model years, 69 to 75. And in fact, this particular brochure is from 1968, so it's a nice early introduction brochure actually for the Volvo 164. Let's just zoom in a little bit further. What a lovely, interesting front end. That big chrome grille certainly screams that this is a little bit special, I think, and I quite like the styling. We always talk about Volvos being very boxy cars, but that front end's got some nice curves to it, hasn't it? Overall, I really like the styling of these. Anyway, without further ado, let's open the brochure up and have a look inside. So when we open the brochure up, we've got a little bit of an introduction and some nice little images, the interior of the car, and then it opens up quite unusually when it shows the side shot, a really lovely side shot. And certainly when you look at the interior, you remember that the 164 was a bit of a special car, a beautiful interior for its time period, I think. And I always think the 164, like I say, it's a little bit forgotten, isn't it? But it shouldn't be, because it is a really marvellous car. And of course, like I say, it's going up market, so it's competing against Mercedes-Benz, maybe even Jaguar's XJ6 at this sort of time. So I don't know if it was too successful at doing that, because it's always the case when a car comes out with a more luxurious version, you don't initially think of that marque being that type of vehicle. But like I said, a beautiful interior and beautiful styling. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle, so we better get on with it. Let's read the introduction and have a look at these images. So it starts by telling us a car for those who want to travel fast and comfortably, for those who want the very best in styling and safety. The Volvo 164 with a 3-litre 6-cylinder engine, a joy to drive, a pleasure to travel in, a delight to own. An imposing car, generously equipped, generously spacious, generously comfortable, and of course extremely safe, because of course Volvo and safety kind of like went hand in hand, didn't it? A completely newly designed 3-litre 6-cylinder engine, output 145 bhp SAE, new specially designed gearbox, 4-speed, quiet running. Door openings with an angle of 80 degrees, generously dimensioned, individual front seats for a perfect driving position, easy to read and straightforward instrumentation, well thought out and luxuriously fitted interior. A car with road holding characteristics in a class of its own, designed and built with foresight concerning safety. equipped to make you independent of weather conditions and road surfaces. A pleasure to travel in, a stimulating joy to drive. So yes, the introduction is equally waffling as how I was trying to think and describe the car, really. Well done, Volvo. Very much approved your waffling introduction. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these images, which is trying to introduce some of the key features, I believe. So it starts off with this tiny little image, I guess, trying to show you automatic transmission and the description. With automatic transmission, city traffic, stop and go driving, the automatic transmission version of the Volvo 164 relieves the driver of all gear changing and clutch operation work. Then we've got this brake system diagram with the description brake system. The system is divided up into two separate circuits. Each circuit includes both front wheels and one rear wheel. The handbrake operates on its own brake drums on the rear wheels. The foot brake has a booster, which carries out most of the braking work. A relief valve in each of the brake circuits distributes the distribution of braking power so that the rear wheels cannot lock before the front wheels in the case of emergency braking. Then we've got this image with the heading exhaust gas emission control. Standard equipment on the Volvo 164 includes exhaust gas emission control. In combination with positive crankcase ventilation, this ensures more effective combustion and cleaner exhaust gases. At the same time, it provides the added advantage of even better fuel economy. And actually, for a car of this size, and it would have been quite a weighty car, compared to some of the other luxury cars, it wasn't too bad on fuel economy actually. I'm thinking of things like a BMW 530 of the time, it was a little bit better. Anyway, sunroof, yes, we had a sunroof. Warm, sunny days, a great advantage to be able to let in more light and more air. The Volvo 164 is also available with a sunroof. Then we get this interesting little diagram, a variable steering ratio. When driving straight ahead without any significant movements of the steering wheel, the steering in a Volvo 164 is exceptionally exact. Towards full lock, however, for example when parking, the steering gear ratio increases gradually to facilitate manoeuvring. And then power steering, the Volvo 164 is also available with power steering, this being in combination with the automatic transmission. And then rather randomly at the bottom it says an aristocrat. And then to the images, and like I say, a lovely interior. Now we could argue the dash is quite a dull affair, but I actually quite like it. Remember, this is 68 and this looks more like sort of like a mid-70s dash, doesn't it? I think that's a little bit forward looking. And then we've got a steering wheel with possibly what we would more expect of this time period, with this little bit of a horn ring going around it. Door cards are rather nice, and then we've got this sort of like a continental style armrest door handle design. Of course, I've got to point out, we can just about make out those rather delightful Quarterlights. Rather unusually, placement of the handbrake there, because not a bench seat, so I don't know why they decided to put it there, but actually those seats look rather nice and rather comfortable, and more importantly, quite upmarket. And then we've got this rather delightful example in red, a little bit of a side shot, and to be honest with you, for my money, I think that's possibly one of the nicest looking Volvo saloons that they ever made. I just love the styling, I love the chrome work and some of the little details. It's not your sort of slab fronted Volvo, it's got a little bit of character to that front end, and a little bit modern. They've decided not to put sort of chrome rings around the headlamps, they've gone body colour. Lovely small little Volvo hubcaps or wheel trims, whatever you want to call them, just them small ones, and it looks like we've got a bit of a beauty ring going around the side as well. I think it really suits this colour though, I must admit. Quarterlight, all that sort of chrome stroke bright work around the windows really helps it stand out in this colour. A very good looking car overall, and even the back end, I think I love how it's sort of the angles of that back end. It's yeah, like I say, I think it's one of the, well, at least it's one of the better, if not the best looking Volvo saloons, but obviously that's a very personal thing. And then back page, technical specs, and you'll notice this is only like a sort of introduction really to the 164. Like I say, it's very early, and it wasn't too much later in time when this sort of like leaflet type introduction really didn't have much in the way of specifications, particularly when you look at like the 80s when you would have got like a small percentage of this. You always find that with brochures. Sorry, just waffling on about brochure nerdy stuff, but certainly the older the brochures, the more it's sort of interesting technical specs that they actually have in the brochure, because I think it's kind of one of those things that's kind of like getting watered down, isn't it? People aren't as interested in the mechanical stuff, but back then I think everyone was a bit more mechanically minded. Anyway, let's run through the specifications. So we started by talking about the specs for the engine. Rather nicely, we got a little bit of an image of that engine, which is Type B30, 6-cylinder overhead valve engine with 7-bearing crankshaft, capacity 2.98 litres. Talks about the bore and stroke, and then it talks about that exhaust emission control again. So from that engine we get 145 bhp and twin horizontal carburetors. Maximum output 130 bhp din at 5000 rpm, 145 bhp SAE at 5500 rpm. Maximum torque 152 pound-foot din at 2500 rpm, 163 pound-foot SAE at 3000 rpm. Cooling system, sealed cooling system, water cooled with pump and thermostat, capacity 11.5 quarts, 13 litres, kind of like shows you how old this brochure is. Frost proofed, fan with viscous slip type coupling. Electrical system, voltage 12 volt, battery capacity 60 amp hour, alternator rating 35 amp, starter motor output 1 horsepower. I mean, that just shows you really how technical the specs are. Gearbox is a 4-speed, fully synchronized with remote control system, then shows the ratios. And of course we get the optional auto, fully automatic transmission with port throttle change down, gear selector on steering column. Clutch is a single dry plate clutch of diaphragm spring type mechanical control system. Rear axle is final drive of hypoid type, ratio for car fitted with 4-speed gearbox, and it gives you that ratio for car fitted with the auto, and again the ratio for car fitted with 4-speed gearbox plus overdrive. So there was another option there to have it as a manual with overdrive. Steering system, cam and roller type, quite an old-fashioned one, but you know, it is going back some time. Quite common for the time really. Available with both left and right hand drive. Safety steering shaft of telescopic type. 4.8 turns of steering wheel from left to right lock. 3.7 turns of steering wheel from left to right lock fitted with power steering. Turning circle is 31 feet 6, which actually isn't too bad, is it, for a big car? Front suspension, independent suspension with coil springs and rubber mounted control arms, ball joints, double acting hydraulic telescopic shock absorbers and a stabilizer. Rear suspension, rigid rear axle carried in longitudinal rubber mounted support arms and torque rods. The rear axle is located laterally by means of a rubber mounted track rod. Coil springs and double acting hydraulic telescopic shock absorbers. Brake system, foot brake, dual circuit brake system. Each system includes both front wheels and one rear wheel, self-adjusting disc brakes on all wheels, power assisted system of tandem type, A relief valve in each of the brake circuits prevents the rear wheels from locking before the front wheel in case of emergency braking. Parking brake acts mechanically on special drums fitted on rear wheels. The handbrake lever is located between the driving seats and the front door. A warning lamp on the dashboard indicates when the handbrake is applied, and also any possible fault in one of the brake circuits. Wheel and tyre sizes, we've got pressed steel wheels, was like tyres suitable for high speed driving. All welded integral, I'm saying integral, there's somebody who keeps telling me I should be calling it integral, but I'm still going with integral. Construction, steel body, reinforced box section profiles round all body openings, comprehensive rust proofing and underbody sealing. Fuel tank located at the rear, and then the capacity 12 3/4 imperial gallons. Lighting equipment, lever on the left hand side of steering wheel for operation of direction indicator, flashes, headlight dipping and headlamp flasher. The headlights can be adjusted from the engine compartment. Asymmetrical dipped headlight beams. Integral lighting, which goes on when either of the front doors is opened. Rheostat controlled instrument lighting, glove box lighting, automatic reversing lights, which is nice, isn't it? Lighting units in engine compartment and luggage compartments recessed for 2 extra headlights. Heating and ventilation system, thermostatic controlled heating and ventilation system with large capacity, quiet running 2-speed fan, air is fed to both the front and rear seats, 3 defroster nozzles for windscreen, also extra fresh air intakes inside of body. Under dashboard, electrically heated rear window with 75W and 150W positions on switch. Padded dashboard with strip type speedometer, 6-figure mileometer, there you go, 6-figure mileometer at a time when I'd say most cars would struggle to do 100,000 miles, and obviously Volvo is saying, hey, don't worry about it. Always makes you feel a little bit better about the car, I think. Trip meter, fuel gauge and water temperature gauge. The speedometer is fitted with a movable arrow as a speed limit reminder. Interesting. Warning lamps for battery charging, oil pressure, full headlights, parking brake and possible brake circuit failure, visible and audible direction indicator signals. Miscellaneous equipment, 3-point factory installed safety belts on front seats, anchorages for 2 3-point and 1 lap belt on the rear seat. So there you go. Volvo. Leather vinyl upholstery, laminated high impact glass in windscreen, 2 padded sun visors, rear view mirror of safety, device with manually operated anti-dazzle device, 2-speed electric windscreen wipers with 16-inch blades, electric windscreen washer with 2.5 pint water container, combined steering, wheel lock and ignition switch, grab handle and courtesy handles, cigarette lighter, ashtrays in dashboard and by rear seat, mud flaps all round, toolkit, jack, towing fixtures front and rear, spare wheel, pockets on rear of front seat backs, fitted carpets, certain models have sunroof. And the rest of the information is described data, which is all the dimensions, which I'm not going to go through, but I'm just going to cast the camera over just in case any of that of any interest, or in case someone's restoring the car or whatever reason you might need that information. Bottom there it says the Volvo 164 requires no regular greasing. The factory remains the right to modify design and equipment without previous notice. And then finally at the bottom here, the type says Volvo 164, and then the date, the 8/1968, England, so I guess that's where that market was for this brochure, but it is printed in Sweden, and we've got, I guess, some Swedish text. So there we go, the rather lovely 164, and I must confess, one of my favourite Volvos, I must admit. Let me know how you feel about these. Also, I guess sometimes memories play a part in that, because I do remember a guy on, or maybe the next street over, having one of these parked outside his house. Although by which time it was probably, I don't know, a 10-year-old car, I would imagine. But yeah, a lovely design, I think. Just in the comments how you feel, particularly if you owned one or drove in one. Let me know how you got on. But we'll finish, as we always do, by saying, please do consider subscribing. It is always free, will always be free, won't cost you a penny to subscribe to the channel. Keeps you in touch with the channel, and if you hit that little bell button, it'll remind you when a new episode arrives. Although we're currently doing on our schedule, Mondays is usually a look back video like today. Wednesdays is a general brochure, it could be anything. Fridays is Ford Friday, and we occasionally do what we call a Saturday special, where it's a special edition version of very many different makes and model of car. But overall, I hope you've enjoyed the episode today. Please do stop in again very soon. We're so happy to have you. Lots of other videos to look at, over 600 now. I'll put a couple of random ones up here in case you want to continue viewing. But overall, thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care, and we'll see you again soon. All the best, and goodbye.